Yes.
Dull and cloudy this evening with outbreaks of rain and drizzle. It'll continue overnight, most persistent along the coast. Lowest temperatures of 7 to 10 degrees. And now you're up to date on News Talk.
Off the ball. This is News Talk.
And now then, you're very welcome along. So Tommy Welch and Di Regan join us this evening to talk hurling. It's do or die this weekend for several counties. TJ Reid continues to astonish, really. He's 50-odd points thus far, all things combined in the championship. We'll talk to Tommy about the country's form hurler. Ireland under-21s beaten by Brazil in Toulon. Dan McDonnell's in studio reflecting on the week that was for Irish football. He's still coming down from the high that was Ireland 2, Gibraltar 0. And it all kicks off at Pebble Beach tomorrow. Padraig Harrington with us tonight, looking ahead to what should be really brilliant US Open. Gets underway in California tomorrow. 53106 is the text number. We're at Off the Ball on Twitter. Dan McDonnell of the Irish Independent in studio. Hello.
Hi, Joe.
The Irish under-21s beaten Brazil, which has brought you down somewhat from the high that was Monday evening. And Richie McCormack, we missed you last night.
I was off at the pictures, Joe, and I don't believe that for a second. I was about to go and see the Diego Maradona doc. It's good.
How good? What are we saying here?
It has its flaws. Mm-hmm. It's a bit clunky in places where it deals with a couple of. It's got a couple of subjects aside from the football that it wants to deal with.
Okay.
And it very obviously switches between those.
Okay. Mafia and such, is it?
Mafia is one, and a son that he didn't acknowledge until 3 years ago is another.
Ooh.
So,
is that right?
Yeah. But it's like, it looks fantastic. Some of the footage they have is amazing. And there's a little cameo from Ronan James McGee as well.
Do you like Maradona more or less?
I like him the same amount.
Which is?
A lot.
Ugh.
Not a fan, Joe?
No. Can't warm to him. Just don't think there's anything likeable about his personality.
And therein is the likeability, Joe.
Really?
Yeah. Some people can be such a-holes that you kind of, like, they have accepted
judged by a different standard.
Yeah.
You can relate to this, can you?
100%. I know my own kind, Joe.
Dan, you were in the office from about 4 o'clock this evening to keep an eye on the Irish under-21s against the Brazil under-22s.
Yeah, even the Brazilian websites are referring to them as the Brazil under-22s. So I was thinking, is this an Irish hard luck story that's been concocted? It's like, no, this is the Brazil under-22 team. And the Irish team really is more of an under-19 side.
Can you neatly sum up why they're the under-22s and we're the under-21s?
I can't really neatly sum it up in terms of the context of the rules of the Toulon tournament and how it's used by different countries. But a lot of countries do use it as prep for the Olympic Games, which is an under-23 competition, I think, isn't it? Or is it 22 or 23?
23s.
Yeah, but so the teams that were playing from, say, Japan, Brazil, a couple of other nations, I think Mexico, who Ireland played, that's their Olympic teams warming up. Okay. Whereas from the Irish perspective, it was it was a mixed bag of a team. Some of the bigger European nations, Brazil hammered France 4-0 in the group stages. Brazil have won every game. That's the smallest margin Brazil victory in the tournament so far. They've won, I think, they're carrying a total of 13 goals in the other 3 matches. So I think they've been hammering everybody. So this was almost a respectable display.
Yeah.
And
Mark Rodden pointed out earlier on, Paulinho, who scored the first, cost 18.5 million to go to Leverkusen, and Matthias Cunha, who scored the second, was a 15 million euro player and played 39 times for RB Leipzig this season.
Yeah. I think the only Irish players who've played first team for their clubs that played in the game today, like in terms of starters, so there's Dara Leahy, who plays for Bows, Conor Ronan, who's been on loan in Slovakia this year, and Darragh O'Shea, who's at West Brom but was at loan at Exeter City in League 2 for the entire season. Fair. So that's their first team experience relative to the opposition.
And you were saying that this Irish under-21 side, as opposed to being built around 1 or 2 real superstars who are definitely going to make it, is more of a collective effort.
There's a lot of players who've got a chance, so it's not as if, well, this is definitely the one. Now, maybe if Troy Parra had been involved, there would be a focus around him, even though he's still sort of ludicrously young, like he's still 17. Yeah. But of that group, there's quite a few who are very well regarded and thought to have a decent chance. Caoimhín Kelleher was in goals. He was involved in the Champions League final on the bench. Maybe didn't have his best day, in terms of the goals. It was a bobble for the first one and caught sort of a bit wrong-footed for the second one. But yeah, there's a lot of optimism around a number of players in the group, but there's no sense of, well, this is the Duff or this is the Keane. These are the ones who are the certainties. But there's a feeling that the group generally, it's particularly like the under-19 group, some of whom might play in the under-19 Euros this summer, and hopefully Parrott might be back for that. It might be be up in the air. That under-19 team could do well in the finals this year. So some of them were 3 years young relative to the players they were up against today.
And sure, I saw about a bit of it. There was a lot of fancy Dan football. Big Mick would have got nicked to 1-0. This is the way.
Would have got it in the mixer. No, I'm not
Get
so
rid!
sure.
Get rid!
I'm not so sure. You watched one passage of play, Joe. I mean, you've been pretty busy, so you watched one passage of play and you were like, oh, they're playing it around a bit here. It's a bit risky.
I was in doing a pre-record. Padraig Harrington's on the way at 7:30, so he spoke to us earlier on. Lots of interesting stuff, and the match was on in here while we were talking to Harrington. Lots of really good Irish football, in fairness. They are trying to play the right way. Can't fault it. And as you said, it's not a bad result in the context to what Brazil is doing.
Yeah, I think it was probably, if it would have been interesting if they got the other semi-final, because Mexico, who Ireland drew with in the groups and actually finished ahead of in their group. Mexico, I think they go to extra time, but they lost to Japan.
Went to penalties. Straight penalties after the 90
So
Ireland
could have potentially got to the final if they'd gone the other way,
Padraig Harrington 7:30, Tommy Welch and Di Regan just after 8 o'clock. We'll get into the news round now. So the big news, Rich, you're leading with is Ronan O'Gara.
Yeah, we kind of expected this one for a while. It's finally been confirmed today that Ronan O'Gara has secured his first head coach role. The former Munster and Ireland out half has been confirmed as head coach at top couture side La Rochelle. O'Gara will leave Crusaders at the end of the Super Rugby season next month. Crusaders are already assured of a quarter-final spot, and O'Gara says it wasn't an easy decision to leave the Christchurch outfit. La Rochelle director of rugby John O'Gibbs says O'Gara's previous experience of the top 14 with Racing will be of huge benefit. Robbie Keane,
big move, isn't it?
Big move.
You definitely suspect he's leaving Crusaders with a heavy heart. It's probably a family decision. He said as much.
He said as much in a statement. He goes, "I'd like to think this isn't the door closing, full stop on Crusaders." He wants to go back there, I think, at some stage.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll get hold of him in the next day or so and chat to him on the show. So, Ronan O'Gara, a head coach. It begins. We'll see where he is now. Robbie Keane,
nicely poised side, actually, La Rochelle. They were kind of finished fifth, I think, in the top 14, got to the final of the Challenge Cup.
And they were in the, I didn't see much of the Challenge Cup this year, I must confess, but in the Champions Cup the year before, geez, they were great fun.
Yeah.
They had Ulster in their group and they played some great rugby.
I think they've looked to solidify a little bit since then. The influence of John O'Gibbs has been telling, but
toughen them up, and we'll see what O'Gara does. So it's really exciting to see him get a head coach role, an Irish coach in the top 14. We'll all be watching the top couture now, Richie.
Absolutely, we will. Robbie Keane, meanwhile, says taking a job as Middlesbrough would come with the blessing of Mick McCarthy and the FAI. The current Republic of Ireland coach has been offered the role of assistant to Jonathan Woodgate of the Championship side. Keane says he could still continue to...
Are we all feeling a bit old?
I was just going to say with the O'Gara thing, even you're seeing like a generation of the generation of players. Maybe it's just it's reflective of the age profile here, but it's the players that you remember as like the rising teen stars. Now these managerial figures of responsibility are assistant.
Keane and Woodgate remember as 17, 18 and 19 years old, and they're kind of crystallised like that in my head.
I don't know.
It's kids. Well, I know Keane was more of a later addition to that group, but
it's just like, I don't know, Peter Reid being a manager and us as kids going, God, was he ever young? There's now a generation going, oh yeah, O'Gara played, did he?
Peter Reid actually was never young. That's probably the wrong example.
Even in 86 he was old,
He looked ancient then.
Who was a 90s manager that was old to us but actually had just stopped playing to our father's generation?
But I mean, Kenny Dalglish was a player manager for a while. So for a certain generation that would have been a transition, I think, even to see Dalglish be the player, you know? Like Brian Robson. Brian Robson, went into it very quickly. I mean, Brian Robson did that press call with the suit top and the football shorts bottom to symbolise the fact he was the player manager.
One of the great photos of all time.
It was a great idea. I can just see them sitting around going, here's what we'll do. And like, will it be jersey top and suit trousers bottom? Like, that would have been a bit of a dilemma.
The best part of it is Brian gone,
I'll do this. Absolutely. I'll do this,
The 90s was just the best.
Watching the Maradona doc last night, I came to the conclusion that the 80s was probably the best.
But did you have enough exposure? Did you have enough cameras on games in the 80s? I think you would have missed a lot of it. It makes for a great documentary, but I thought the 90s was the nice sweet spot. Where Brian Robson, there was enough publicity and football was sexy enough post the World Cup, post Italia 90.
But it was sexy enough without being as far gone as it is now.
It's destroyed now.
Like the Sky promo ads in the 90s were the best. The original sort of alive and kicking Simple Minds one at the start.
David Hurst in a shower.
Yeah, exactly. And the shots. You
just said Brian Robson being player manager, so he wore a pair of football shorts and a suit on top
for a press call,
and agreed.
Everyone was like, "Yeah."
I think my favourite one is there was a football boot ad for, I think, whatever company looked after Ian Rush and Gary Lineker and Robson, I think, as well. There's a picture of the three of them dressed as kind of mafia dons with violin cases, and I think they might be holding guns as well.
Right, yeah.
But it's them advertising their boots, or their shin guards, actually, I think it was for.
It's all just too self-aware.
Well, there was also the money wasn't as big then, so there was more willingness to take on the cringy PR gigs for the extra earner. Like
you had to get attention.
You had like the Roy Keane of his day. Like today's Roy Keane wouldn't need to dress up as like what did he dress up for the Walkers ad? Was
Leprechaun. Leprechaun.
I don't think sort of Eden Hazard or someone needs to do that now. Oh.
At that stage, Brian Robson, they were like, we need to do something to get a bit of attention here. Whereas nowadays, it's just completely changed. Sorry, that was totally my fault. So Jonathan Woodgate is confirmed or going to be confirmed?
Well, this is the other thing as well. I think Middlesbrough hadn't confirmed it yet.
Necessarily confirmed. That wasn't 100% out there, but yeah.
Right, so Keane was talking today.
Robbie's done a job of doing that for him today, and he says he could still continue to work alongside McCarthy and Terry Connor should he take the Riverside job, and he has been in regular contact with his former Leeds teammate.
No, never spoke. I knew, obviously, we speak to each other all the time in terms of he's been a coach for 2 years there and Middlesbrough. Seen in the news that he was going to get the job maybe a couple of weeks ago, but I didn't think for 1 second that he was going to call me. I thought he may have someone there that he's with. So first person he called was me. So it must be all right. It must be not a bad fella.
And the line seems to be he's definitely considering it, but will not be leaving the Irish setup.
Yeah, exactly. And it seems pretty strong that this is going to happen, right. Albeit he did say he still needed to take some time to maybe think about it, but it had come up during an international break, so he hasn't necessarily got to the... He'd met Steve Gibson, the chairman, yesterday, I think it was, and it was all on board in terms of the management of it.
Put it to you, it's only probably a good thing for Ireland. He's going to see lots of Irish players in the Championship, but also he gets in-game experience of being on the sideline, because I was looking down at him on Monday night. This was midway through the second half when things weren't going well for Ireland against Gibraltar. It was 1-0, and it was Mick McCarthy and Terry Connor and Robbie Keane in discussion. And I did think, Robbie hasn't had much experience of having to look on at a game from a sideline and come up with an idea or a suggestion. So getting to do that in Middlesbrough is no bad thing. Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, and obviously Roy Keane tried the double job at Aston Villa. Maybe that didn't work so well. I suppose a slight difference. Robbie is the number 3. Terry Connor is very much the assistant. Yeah. Mick McCarthy. Robbie is the number 3, and he is, as you mentioned, like he hadn't managed before. Like Keane or whatever. So I think anything that exposes him to more football, as you say, and more game situations is probably going to be a good thing, Warren Gatland, meanwhile?
Yeah, he's been named the Lions head coach for the 2021 tour to South Africa. It's the third time that the Kiwi will have led the Lions, having won the 2013 series in Australia and drawn in New Zealand 2 years ago. Sam Warburton captained the side in New Zealand with a little help, of course, from Peter O'Mahony. And Gatland was asked today about potential captains against the Springboks.
First of all, I think it's going to be someone who's got the respect potentially of everyone in the squad. I mean, ideally you want someone to be coming from a team that's been performing well and been successful. So Alan Jones probably comes to mind at the moment in terms of what he's achieved in the game. Owen Farrell, definitely been incredibly successful as well. So potentially those two players are players that you would talk about if you're picking a team right now. But 2 years away is a long time. And
Warren Gatland there. As we mentioned, the Republic of Ireland under-21 suffering a 2-0 defeat to Brazil in the semi-finals of the Toulon tournament. Goals in either half from Bayer Leverkusen midfielder Paulinho and RB Leipzig's Matthias Cunha gave Brazil the win after they missed a penalty inside 4 minutes as well. And it's Japan next in Saturday's final. Ireland, as we mentioned, to face Mexico. Interesting line coming out of the States today, that being that a run of 1 win in 14 games has seen Jim McGuinness lose his job as Charlotte Independence manager. The former Donegal manager was only appointed to the USL side, the second tier in the United States, back in December. I can't say I've seen much of Charlotte Independence, have you? No, I mean they're a new club. Well, it's a new league and it's all very new. And I mean, they don't hang about in the States, I guess, sometimes when it comes to firing coaches and stuff. But it's still a bit of a massive, it's a huge blow, for him. I mean, I did think with McGuinness, and like the McGuinness story is amazing that he's got into this position. And I've spoken to people who've been involved with him around coaching courses, and he's obviously networked well and made a good impression on people. But it's still somewhat incredible that he's got like this opportunity off the back of his background, and
I don't know. Like we'll see where he goes from here. It's going to be very interesting to see where he goes from here. Like I think people maybe, and this sounds like sort of, you don't know what the circumstances of the club is as well, and maybe in time you might learn more about that, and maybe there was obstacles there, and not meaning to be sort of trying to put a dig in when someone's down, but I think there was like this desire, this desperation for Jim McGuinness to really work. Like even at one point last year when we were in the middle of the Ireland managers race and what was going on, and Jim McGuinness was spotted, I think, coming into Dublin Airport in an FAI top now, or an FAI person was greeting him. It's because he was going to a coaching course, and people were thinking, could McGuinness be a factor here in this? It's like crazy stuff, you know. Like I did find an element of it a bit insulting to like people who've worked in the sport all of their life in Ireland. Like he wouldn't be mentioned in the same breath or in the same circles because they're maybe not as high profile. Like, you know, you got Jim McGuinness or someone like Tom Owen. Who would you want? You'd be talking Tom Owen every day of the week, but he would never get mentioned in the same context and the breath that McGuinness did. And like, people wanted him to do well. And as I said, there was Roger Smith, like very well regarded people who brought him to China and stuff. But in terms of adopting to the sport, it was never going to be a straightforward transition.
No, he would always need a lot of football acumen around him, but the skill set that would be applicable to any sport is an area which he seems to be exceptional in, and it's uniting a group, imbuing them with a sense of confidence, creating a strong team ethic environment. You know, all of these kind of areas are really important.
You have to believe that he's exceptional in that regard.
Have to believe he's exceptional.
You have to believe it, but I mean, there's obviously a lot of other people who didn't have that wave behind them, that would have that acumen and have worked in that particular and coached teams in that particular sport for all of their lives, who would never get the chance to manage Charlotte Independence. So there's no doubt that even how they covered the appointment and the announcement at the time, like there was a hype machine there.
Totally. Well, it was just, there was this sense, God, we're watching something extraordinary here, and almost self-fulfilling prophecy comes in, and you know, media almost wonder could it happen, and before you know it happens. And there was no doubt, as well as everything else in a GAA coach, he was a brilliant tactician. Like that was one of his real strengths. He revolutionised aspects of the game. He caught Dublin on the hop in 2014. So suddenly, when you're translating to football, soccer, you're losing all that, and that's a big part of his armory too.
Of course, and like, you know, there's layers to his story, and it'll be interesting to see where it goes from here. But it's a bit of a reality check to a degree as well, I would suggest. Rich, last story or two you want to bring us?
Germany have won foot in the last 16 of the Women's World Cup. A first half strike from Sarah de Brits gave them a 1-0 win over Spain at Valenciennes. They top Group B on 6 points this evening. Earlier in Group A, Nigeria were 2-0 winners over South Korea. Still to come at 8 in Nice, host France face Norway. While Ireland's 38-14 bonus point win over Italy this afternoon kept alive their slim hopes of a semi-final spot at the World Rugby Under-20 Championship. Noel McNamara's side still needs South Africa to beat New Zealand by 40 points tonight, or indeed vice versa, if they're to make the last 4. And Chris Froome will miss next month's Tour de France after suffering a broken femur today. The 4-time Tour winner was doing a recon ride of today's 4th stage of the Criterium de Dauphiné. Froome had been set to lead Team Ineos on the Tour, with team principal David Brailsford saying he would be preferred over defending champion Geraint Thomas. But today's fall puts paid to that, and Brailsford has been outlining what exactly happened.
It sounds like he was the foot of the descent. It's obviously very gusty today, and it sounds like he's taking his hand off his bars just to blow his nose, and the wind's taking his front wheel, and he's hit a wall at 60 km an hour, something like that. He's got a bad fracture. He's badly injured. It sounds like he's got a fracture of femur.
Okay, well that's that then for Chris Froome. That's pretty much our news round for this evening. Off the ball, before we go to ad break, and Padraig Harrington has teamed up again with the Irish Blood Transfusion Service in supporting World Blood Donor Day. It takes place this Friday, June 14th. It's all with a view to encouraging conversation around blood donation and to highlight why it is so important. 1 in 4 of us will need a transfusion in our lifetime, and all the blood used in Irish hospitals comes from Irish resident donors. The IBTS service needs 3,000 units donated every week just to keep up with demand. At the moment, over 1,000 people receive transfusions every week in Ireland. So you can check your eligibility to donate or find your nearest clinic by visiting giveblood.ie, or on Twitter, look out for the hashtag #EveryoneCounts. All ahead of World Blood Donor Day this Friday, June 14th, and we'd encourage you to get involved if you have the means to do so. A short break, we're talking hurling after 8 o'clock, and then up next, the US Open at Pebble Beach gets underway tomorrow. 3-time major winner Padraig Harrington with us next.
Off the ball on News Talk. The Pat Kenny Show.
My goodness, have you ever heard such claptrap from Bernard Durkin and Fred Barry? It's absolute nonsense.
It's all about language here, isn't it? And words that you use.
It's called spin, and it's disgusting and disgraceful.
So it's not overspend or overrun. It is.
We got it wrong at the beginning, therefore it's not an overspend.
An underestimation.
Oh, come on, guys.
And what Fred Barry was saying, that we haven't overran or overspent the budget since it was reapproved last December. When
so
of
we
course
haven't overspent, but now it becomes the standard budget, and we haven't overspent on
budget.
The overspend.
Exactly, on that one of 1.4 billion.
Do they think we're all fools?
The Pat Kenny Show.
With MasterCard.
Back tomorrow at 9 a.m. on News Talk.
Whether it's from your dad,
throw a few odd quid under the mattress,
your next door neighbour,
You should totally remortgage the house and get one too.
or your 6-year-old,
How should I know? I spend it all my money.
it's always better to trust a professional when it comes to financial advice. Financialbroker.ie is the go-to for professional advice on pensions, investments, and everything in between. Find your local broker or use our budget calculator at financialbroker.ie.
Citroën, 100 years of innovation, adventure, happy families, and comfort. Citroën celebrates 100 years of producing cars inspired by you, including our all-new C5 Aircross, the comfort class SUV. See how far we've come. Take a test drive and discover the great range of 192 offers available at your local Citroën dealer or visit citroen.ie.
Citroën. The wait is over. A new age in walk-in medical care has arrived in Ireland, where long waiting times in busy waiting rooms are a thing of the past, where patients suffering from minor injuries and illnesses are seen within an hour by the very best medical practitioners delivering quality care in a modern stress-free environment. Express Care walk-in clinics in Cork, Tallaght and Santry are open to everyone and open 365 days a year. For more information, go to expresscare.eu. Express Care by Affidea. Be seen as a priority.
Join Off the Ball in Abu Dhabi this November 17th to 23rd for the inaugural Off the Ball Open. With flights from Dublin, 5 nights in a 4-star hotel, golf on 2 championship courses, gala awards dinner, Peter Lorre golf clinic and a live Off the Ball roadshow. So where else would you get it? The inaugural Off the Ball Open. Book now at CassidyTravel.ie and check out offtheball.com.
Fiona Byrne from 29 Woodstock Green Nace gave us her blessing to say this month she's working nights. Her pedigree pooch, Pebbles, and vintage record collection will be home alone. Pebbles resides in a basket while Bert Bacharach and co live on the sitting room shelf, above the stereo. Night shift? No worries. The Phone Watch sale is now on. Get Phone Watch installed for just €199. Call 1850 500 900 today. Monitoring fees apply. Offer ends this Friday.
When it comes to appliances, I like mine delivered. I.e., they're in my kitchen at the time agreed. The biggest brands at the best prices. Like washing machines from only $179.95. American fridge freezers from only $599.95. Ovens from only $169.95. Technology, dishwashers, barbecues. You don't even have to leave your home. Just clickety-click and bingo. Your appliances delivered. AppliancesDelivered.ie. Buy online now.
Off the Ball. This is News Talk.
Welcome back. Now, as you might have heard there during the ad break, Off the Ball heading off for some winter sun and top-class golf. We want you to join us, the Off the Ball team, along with some special guests, including Kevin Kilban, Kieran Donaghy, Peter Lorre and more, are taking on 2 of the best courses on the planet, the Yas Links and the National. It's the first ever Off the Ball Open this November. We're looking at 5 nights in a 4-star hotel, a Peter Lorre golf clinic, gala dinner and an OTB roadshow. November 17th to 23rd in Abu Dhabi. If that sounds like your kind of thing, then sign up now. You'll get all the information you need at offtheball.com/open. And speaking of opens, the 119th US Open this year at Pebble Beach is upon us, the 3rd major of the year. Delighted to say a man who has 3 majors of his own is on the line. He's also the European Ryder Cup captain. Padraig Harrington, good evening.
Good evening. I'm delighted. Well, I'm not delighted that you're delighted. I'd rather be there and not talking to you.
I'm not taking that personally. That's understandable.
Yeah, it is. It's tough actually when you do miss out on these majors, but I'll still watch it for the next 4 days and be fascinated and enthralled by it, and hopefully we'll get a good winner come Sunday.
I want to put a quote to you from Brooks Koepka. He was saying this pre-USPGA at Bethpage. He said, "These things actually are easier to win than most events. There's 156 players in the field, so you figure at least 80 of them I'm probably just going to beat. You figure about half of them won't play well, so you're down to about maybe 35. And then from 35 on, pressure's going to get to some of them. It really only leaves you with a few more to beat. One of the big things I've learned about these major championships is you don't need to win them. Just hang around. If you hang around, good things are going to happen." Is that something you agree with? And if so, when did you come to that realisation?
Fully agree with it. It's interesting, though, to only feel like that when things are going well for you and your game is in good shape, and that's obviously the mindset of a guy who's winning at the moment. You can be patient, you can sit there, you can wait for good things to happen. But if you weren't winning, look, you'd be pushing, you'd be forcing, you'd be losing patience, you'd be worried about other people in the field, and we've seen that over the years. You know, you go back to Rory, say 2011, when he had a distinct advantage over the field in driving. You know, he was turning up and he wasn't worried about the other guys. He was playing his own game and being patient. That advantage obviously is not that he's lost it, but other people have caught up over the years. You know, there's plenty of guys who drive it as well, nearly as well as Rory. So, you know, he's now looking over his shoulder. Brooks is winning majors 4 of the last 6, I think it is, or 4 in the last 2 years, and he can sit back and let it come to him, and they are coming to him.
Yeah, 4 in the last 8. So only Ben Hogan, Tiger Woods and Jack Nicklaus, the end, have managed to win 4 in 8 majors, which is quite extraordinary. It's interesting you use the word patience as well. He was saying a couple of weeks ago when he was doing a press conference at a regular tour event that he often just runs out of patience on a Friday at a regular PGA Tour stop if he's not winning. Whereas at a major, he has a deeper respect for the tournament, and no matter what happens, he stays calm, he stays in the moment. Again, there's a very experienced kind of words of wisdom coming from him. This is kind of what you expect a guy maybe in his mid-30s to have realised about these championships.
Well, it is the actual common theme of it. If you find a guy in his 20s, he'll say that what's experienced is he's believing it, and he's living it. I think every psychology book written on golf will say that's the case, that there's less guys can win, you've got to be patient. I often describe playing a regular event compared to playing a major. It's the difference between a 100-metre sprint and a marathon. Like in a regular event, if you're not 4 under par after 9 holes, you start panicking. The field has gone by you. You know that in a regular event you're going to have to get to 18, 19 under par. You know, if a guy shoots 8 under the first day, you're not thinking he's going to come back to you. You're thinking he's going to go forward. He's going to shoot 4 under, 4 under, 4 under. All of a sudden, you've got to get to 20 or level par after 9 holes. How are you going to do that? In a major, a guy gets a lead, and bar it being Tiger Woods in his heyday, bar it being Rory 2011, you're just sitting there going, hard luck him, he's got all the pressure, he's going to come back to the field. You're never worried about a guy getting away from you in a major. You know you have time. You know that level par is always good. And I know the NLS set at the US Open level par, but the thinking this year is that the USGA are going to see sense that to try and hold the players to level par causes controversy. It causes them to have to genuinely trick the course up so that good shots are punished. Whereas if they look to a score, 4 under to 8 under, they can have a great test of golf that there's no trickery in it, that is seriously difficult, but they have to focus on that score because there's too many good players. So to hold the whole field to level par, there's somebody who's going to hit nearly all the fairways, all the greens. So, they have to accept that the standard, the depth has got better.
Yeah.
The quality of the players have got better. So just let us go to 4-8 under par and you're going to get a great championship. And that seems to be the feeling that the USGA are going to get away from that level par, which is killing their tournaments, trying to force us to shoot level par.
Talk to us a bit about Pebble Beach, if you don't mind. Nicklaus in 72, Watson in 82, Tiger Woods famously in 2000, Graham McDowell in 2010, Tom Kite in 92. It's a pretty impressive winners list.
It's produced some real iconic winners. It is a great golf course. It has a couple of really, well, more than a couple, but a number of spectacular golf holes. It has a number of challenging, tough holes. It has a few holes that, people wouldn't even remember. But I think the beauty of it is it really does have a stern finish. So you just don't get away. You have the middle, obviously the start where you've got to make some birdies, you've got the middle where you've got to hang on, then you have a few more birdie chances. But then at the end you can make a couple of birdies, but there's a good solid finish where there's plenty happening. So a leader can come back to the field, but also somebody chasing can make a couple of birdies coming home. So it really is a great championship course. The way it ebbs and flows all the way to the round, because there are definitely birdie chances on the golf course. It's not like it's not a brute of a course by any means, but you certainly, there's also, even it's just like the first hole is like 3-iron wedge, probably 4-iron wedge, but you hit your wedge shot in the wrong place and you struggle to get it on the green with your chip shot. So it has its bite, but it definitely gives up a bit as well.
Koepka was saying he might only use his driver 4 or 5 times around.
Yeah, it is firm and fast. That's the word. They've actually slowed it down Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday compared to what it was at the weekend. But you can be assured by the time it comes Sunday, it's going to be very firm and fast. So that would tend to suit the shorter hitters, the straighter hitters. You can keep it in play. So I know the rough is heavy, which is generally, the longer you hit it when the rough is heavy, the better. But I think with a firm course, I think you're probably looking at that everybody is in play. It doesn't necessarily say, okay, you've got to be a bomber, and it doesn't necessarily say that the being short and straight is out of it. Everybody can play this course.
Do you remember much of Woods' performance there in 2000 when he was 15 shots clear of the field?
I was in second place with 9 holes to go, so yeah, I remember quite a bit.
Yeah, because Ernie Els had the famous quip off 18. Well, I won the tournament I was involved in. Is kind of what he said when he came up. Did you ever go back and watch Woods' play, given that you were out in the course at the same time?
Yeah, yes and no. I obviously, you get shown it a lot, but did I sit down and watch it? No. I find, like, if you look back at the PGA and Whistling Straits where Jason Day lapped the field and he played with Jordan Spieth in the last round and particularly outplayed Jordan. He hit it 50, 60, 70 yards past him on a lot of holes and looked unbeatable. And Jordan hasn't played the same since then because he had to... When the rest of the field got lapped by Jason Day, we didn't actually physically stand there and see it happening to us. And that can be very off-putting. So I'm happy I didn't play with Tiger and get him see the gap. And you don't physically see it, that's not a bad thing for a player because, if you get lapped by 15 shots and you're actually there, present, seeing it happening, and you just go, well, I could never do that. And clearly we couldn't do it, but at least I wasn't confronted with it as much as, say, Jordan Spieth and Jason Day in Whistling Straits.
Yeah, bit of self-preservation going on. Woods was talking yesterday at his press conference. He was saying he was feeling very under the weather, just physically. He might have been sick at Bethpage, and his back wasn't in great shape, but he's feeling good this week. And somebody asked him, in terms of strategy, how are you going to play the course 2019 as opposed to the year 2000 when you were a very different person physically? And he said, interestingly, I'm going to be able to play this pretty much in the same way because the advances in golf equipment and the golf ball have offset what I've lost in age. So in terms of the spots I'm going to end up in, it's going to be very similar. That's an ominous enough warning. I mean, it'd be impossible to replicate what he did in 2000, but he's got a big chance this week, doesn't he?
Oh, yeah. Look, absolutely. He is not the driver of the ball he was back in 2000. He was very powerful, very long, and very straight back then. He was a great driver of the ball. But he doesn't have to use that driver this week. So every other part of his game, he's right up there leading greens in regulation. His putting is back, his chipping is back, and his head seems to be in the game. So, I know he's third or fourth or fifth favourite, but I think Tiger gets stronger the more he stays in this event. So, I really saw that at the Masters, that when he genuinely had a chance of winning, he reverted back to, I just want to get the job done. Whereas I think sometimes Tiger in this era is concerned about how he's swinging the club and concerned about hitting the right shots, which he definitely wasn't the last couple of holes at the Masters. So the longer Tiger stays in the hunt, the more the old Tiger comes out, the more he gets things done. And Tiger was, like we all know, he was famous for doing spectacular things when they were needed.
Yeah. Because you've talked very interestingly before about how when you approached a big tournament, you would try and leave technical thoughts behind, get over to that right side of the brain, as it were. Wood's very concerned with his swing at times and can get quite technical. So you're sort of saying when he now gets back in the hunt, that almost flicks a switch where, I can worry about how my swing's looking another day. I just need to get this done. And almost as a result, he plays his best golf or his best stuff.
Oh, look, we all play our best stuff when it's on the line and you're not caring how you're doing it, you're just caring about getting the results. So, when I saw the Masters, he tried to hit a draw off the 8 for length, he tried to hit a draw off 11 for length, and then he tried to draw it around the corner on 13, and he failed miserably on all 3 drives. He blocked 2, hit a big hook and another. And then 14 required a draw. He forgot about it, he just hit his fade. 15 required a draw for length. No, he just hit his fade. And you could just see he wasn't caring about hitting the right shot, he was caring about how am I going to play this hole in the lowest amount of shots. And it is a different mindset. You tend... it's easier to get into it under pressure. It's easier to get into it down the last couple of holes. As I said, Tiger will go out the first round and he'll be trying to feel where his swing is at and he'll be thinking about his golf swing. And if it goes smoothly for a couple of rounds and he stays in there, he'll go back to the old Tiger. You know what? I don't need to worry about this and just play.
Yeah.
And when he plays, he's special and he still has that ability to hit the special shots. His iron play has been fantastic. It's amazing to see his Brazilian greens and regulation for most of the year. He has lost a lot of speed. We're watching the PGA and he's, Tiger when he came out was getting the 190s ball speed. He's down in the 60s now. Which if everything was matched up efficiently, that's 60 yards of distance.
Right.
So it's he might take the new ball, and the ball does go further, even when, but not as far as Tiger had a big advantage. He had, he'd nearly 2 steps in advantage off the tee back in the day. Now he's actually giving up off the tee, but he's capable of making up elsewhere.
Okay, interesting. What about with your Ryder Cup captaincy hat on? I don't know how Whistling Straits compares with Pebble. I don't know what you're looking out for. Is it how people handle pressure? How will that inform how you watch a tournament like this, or does it at all? Is it just too early and removed from Whistling Straits?
It's not a similar test, but I'd be looking for. What I'm kind of looking for is there's a lot of good players in Europe who are performing in Europe and performing consistently and winning in Europe. But they now need to step up and start performing in world events and majors. So I'm looking for the younger guys, the guys who are putting their name in the hat for the Ryder Cup to say, okay, yeah, now let's move to the international, the full stage with the players they're going to be playing against in the and start showing some form. So there is an element of I want I'm not really concerned about the big stars, but I'm more concerned about the fringe players to start, knocking in their top 10s in world and majors and things like that. So, I know it's a bit off now, but they need to start showing that they can handle the big stage now.
And how much of a given week is Ryder Cup captaincy taking up of your thinking time or your actual time?
It's starting to get busy. Yeah, I did 4 hours of a meeting today,
right?
And starting to lock in, which is interesting. I'm starting to lock in. Yeah, I've got Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Scottish Open, three meetings, that sort of stuff. I've stuff going on at the Irish Open. Yeah, it's starting to pile up. It might be a little bit busy at the moment because at this stage it's actually, believe it or not, picking the clothing designs today, and that I have to pick the rainwear, I have to pick the hats.
Right.
I have to try the hats and see do they fit and what styles they are, and I've got to remember that I'm dealing with 30-year-olds who think they're 20.
Yeah.
So yeah, I have to be trendy.
Oh dear. And what are we looking at? At least 2 to 3 green numbers, I presume.
You'll probably find that there might be a Green Bay Packers green in there, all right.
Okay, good.
Not necessarily, not an emerald green. We weren't looking at that, but you look. There'll obviously be your standard European colours, no doubt about that, and then we'll see if we can. We try and figure out if we can avoid certain colours. Might look good individually, but when you put 16 guys together,
yes,
I think some of the colours from at times people go, oh, that's a bit too much yellow.
And how much are you allowing your are you allowing your analytical mind to run away here? Because like there are football managers who have done studies on what colour socks tend to perform best. You know, it turns out it's white actually. White socks tend to be the best. Are you getting into all this kind of stuff and what the psychology of different colours is?
Wow, like I would know things that red tends to be the colour of winners, but this is more to do with perception from referees. Black, they give more rulings against people who wear black and things like that. I'd have read all those general psychology books that come up with these things, but no, I would hope my team looks smart and comfortable, and I'll let their golf do the work. No, I'm not thinking the colours determine.
Not that we've dragged you on here to be some kind of tipster. Are there kind of names beyond the obvious, the kind of usual top 5 or 10 in the kind of betting or who people think will do well, that you're looking at and think Pebble Beach really suits them, or are you good at predicting these things?
I am the worst tipster ever.
Okay.
If it comes to golf and horse racing, I am the Jonah of all time. Even if I can and bear in mind, I can source some of the best information ever when it comes to horse racing, and I still can't back a winner. So I must, just horse racing and golf, stay away from me. Whoever I pick, my wife or family will generally run a mile away from it.
Okay, the Harrington kiss of death it is then.
Yeah, not that we're allowed to gamble anymore or give advice. We're not allowed. Yeah, public yes, private no.
Right. Okay. What did you see much of Rory in Canada?
Yeah, a little bit. Saw him around the place with, players' lounge, things like that, and we were chatting away. He seems very comfortable with his game, very relaxed. I certainly looked at him on the course, but off the course, he seems in a good frame of mind. The tough thing for him is, he just has to have the Brooks Koepka attitude, which isn't easy. If the wins are coming quickly, it's easy to have that.
Yeah.
When they're not there, you're kind of, do I need to do something different? Do I need to add something? Do I need to, be on top form? And Brooks is going in there. It's fantastic to see, but it doesn't last forever.
Yeah.
He's just going in there thinking, just an all right week, and I'll have another major.
It's interesting. Brooks Koepka still has a kind of chip on his shoulder generally, because he was talking yesterday in his press conference, and it had come to his attention that the Fox TV promo for the US Open didn't include any shots of him whatsoever. And he said somebody should get fired over it. So he is still, it's amazing that somebody with 4 majors is playing with a sense of almost chip on the shoulder, but he's still out to prove a lot of people.
He couldn't have paid for motivation, more motivation. It's phenomenal. It's beyond bizarre. And his comments, I saw the quote, was actually pretty reasonable. He didn't outly say, fire everybody, but it's shockingly amazing when you think that promo. Okay, they probably sent a couple of interns to make the promo, and the interns looked on Twitter and said, well, if these people are the most popular, this is who we put in the thing. But that promo would have been reviewed before it went out. So the people who reviewed it, it's hard to believe that this is possibly it's just beyond belief. Now the thing with Brooks is he's no corporate sponsors. He's not interested in corporate sponsors. He doesn't want to do the work off the golf course. So he doesn't have big companies marketing him. And if you turn on the golf in the States, you'll often see 2 or 3 of the 5 ads will have Ricky Fowler in it between breaks.
Yeah.
So he doesn't have that. He's not interested. So he's not, even though he's not a prolific social media guy, he's not out there putting himself out there. He's pretty quiet in that sense. So you could see how that downplays his image. And when he had a chip on his shoulder a year ago, you could kind of go, well, you don't really play into this. You're not really playing the game. Yeah. But when you're a 4-time major winner in the last 8, and 2 of them are US Opens, and you're defending, you think that qualifies you to be in the promo video. So his chip on the shoulder is well justified.
Yeah, I would have thought so.
And yes, heads should roll for that.
Ricky Elliott was on a couple of weeks ago, his caddy, and he was saying that one of the reasons he hasn't gone with the club manufacturer is he wants to use the best equipment in each department. He figures it ain't worth tying yourself to one manufacturer, which was quite admirable. Can I ask? Can you explain why? Go on. Sorry.
That is incredibly admirable. There's a price. Okay.
Give us a figure. What kind of price?
Well, again, he's got a big Nike sponsorship.
Yeah.
But that kind of curtails the big club manufacturer sponsorship. So, but there is figures out there. Like the guys are getting 10 million a year for equipment and 10 million for clothes or 5 million. There's big figures out there. So, if somebody steps up and says, Brooks is no fool, there's just not been a figure that has enticed them to go, I still like my freedom.
Yeah.
And so that as I said, it's spoken of a man who everybody has a price, and someday he'll have to turn around and change his opinion on that.
Did you ever play with equipment where you thought to yourself, deep down, I know this isn't the best iron or driver or ball I could be using? No, absolutely. And I've used Wilson for 22 years, which wouldn't be one of the, wouldn't be marketed like some of the other products. But Wilson have won the most majors of any brand over the years. They've made exceptional irons. When I won the majors, I was using their driver as it happened. And the great thing for me, and this is the alternative to Brooks, I've always had a very liberal contract that if I don't want to use some of the clubs, I can use other clubs. So there's one or two manufacturers that insist to use all 14. Yeah.
Whereas with Wilson, I've always had a written in my contract, if I want to use something else because I think it's better, I can use it, and it's up to Wilson to get me something better than it.
Right.
So I've had a nice contract that way, but I've always chosen, like at the moment, I actually have a pretty loose Wilson contract, and the number of Wilson clubs have gone up in my bag rather than down. They'll do anything, and they make Wilson make a great iron. It's just one of those things, that perception. They don't have the marketing budget of some of these other companies to tell you that they make a great iron.
Yeah. And, footballers famously wearing a certain type of boot and actually putting the shoe polish over the 3 stripes or something because they're not sponsored. Are there players out there who probably are playing one club but actually it's dressed up as another?
No. None of that happens. But there was a big change this year. So, like TaylorMade would have basically last year and previous years would have sponsored anybody to use their driver and would have had the driver count. They've kind of realised since then that, we only need to have the big guys, and we don't need to have 70 guys out there. So it's quite interesting. There's players who have used to play them and now have taken the huff and will play something else, even though they like the driver they were playing. So players can, but there's good choice out there. So there's a number of manufacturers that are, at the moment, that have produced a good, I can think of 4 manufacturers at the moment that, actually 5 now, because Shane Lowry was struggling a bit with a driver fiddling around, and he's got a lovely Strixon driver that he's very happy with at the moment, and that's a perfect example. Shane can use whatever driver he wants. So if there's another manufacturer comes up with a good driver, he can go. He won at the start of the year with Callaway, but didn't particularly get on so well with it, and then he struggled a bit, and now he's got his own manufacturer produced a driver that really suits him, and his uptick in his form has come from he's happy with his driver.
Right.
Whereas for the first 3 months of the year, I'd say he used 15 drivers. Now he's very comfortable with that Strixon driver, and that's put him in a nice place.
God, that's amazing. Because we've been rambling on here, and that was going to be my last question. I was going to ask if you knew why there was such an upturn in Lowry's form, second at the weekend, up to 32nd in the world. So you've answered that. And he likes a US Open as well. Yeah,
Shane is a good straight driver of the ball. He gets very, as I said, he is now again. He was struggling early in the year. And that sets him up. He's strong, pretty strong everywhere else, but he really relies on his driving to build him up for the rest of the rounds. And every performance he has, he's on a tighter golf course. He doesn't drive as well on the big open golf courses where it's about booming it out there. He hits it long, but he doesn't play well on the ones where you have to boom. He plays much better on the tighter golf courses where he can play within himself with the driver and then hit a lot of fairways. decently long. He's one of the, you know, relative to the field, he'd be well up there in driver distance. So put him on a tight golf course, he does very nicely. So a US Open course off the tee is exactly where Shane revels.
Yeah.
So if you see some good driving, you'll probably find he'll have a good week.
Okay, geez, it's brilliant insight. You did your bit of punditry at the Masters. Are you doing any this week?
No. I need a week off, rest. Right. It's a long way to the West Coast. So sometimes my golf comes ahead of me talking.
We'll see you in Lahinch. What's the kind of plan the next while?
I've got one more in the States, and then it's back to, as I said, you're really looking at Lahinch, Scottish and Open, and 3 big weeks for me, 3 big weeks in the calendar, 3 links golf courses.
Yeah.
So I because of my broken wrist during the winter, I really every week I turn up, I just feel like, I'll use that term, I feel like I need more reps.
Yeah.
Yeah, I need, and missing cuts then, like missing the cut is the worst thing I can do, because I need to be on the golf course, not on the practice ground. It's not like I need to hit more practice shots, I need to be out there. So being ready for those 3 weeks, 3 links golf courses, and getting a run on the course and feeling like I'm match ready, that would be quite important for me.
And in terms of your attitude, are you being pretty forgiving to yourself in the midst of trying to get back into it?
No. I wish I was. I was saying to somebody the other day, this game is so easy and so logical when you're looking in, and just when you're inside, you know, it's what's going through your own head. It's amazing how often you do things that you would tell somebody else not to do. So it's just not as easy to be. I'm pretty good when it comes to being accepting, but certainly it's the strongest area that I need to improve over the next couple of weeks, as always, is the mental side. I just need to be a little bit less about, you know, hitting good shots.